Krishna Hare Krishna
Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Hare
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 Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare.
जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपीकांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कंचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदानेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। तुलसी राधे गोलोकानंद भगवान की जय। बोलो श्रीमद् भागवतम की
Jai.
जय। हरे कृष्णा रीना जी।
Hare Krishna, Maya. Hare Krishna, everyone.
हरे कृष्णा सचिन। हरे कृष्णा ज्योति।
हरे कृष्ण
Right, so back to Srimad Bhagavatam. कल हम लोग श्लोक 33 पढ़ रहे थे या और as we have been reading, Kapil Muni, who is none other than avatar of Lord Vishnu. Yeah, so think about this, like the Lord himself has come down to give this knowledge, to tell about the absolute fact, yeah, of how this world has been created, why a human being and why all these 8.4 million species are here, what a human being should do, what is the highest perfection of human being, and what is a conditioned soul, how most people behave, and what happens to be in this cycle and the entanglement in karma, and then how can you get out of this entanglement, and how can you go back to Godhead and get out of this clutches of birth, death, old age, and disease cycle. Yeah, so that's what Kapil Muni is describing this to Mother Devahuti. It's called Sankhya Gyan. Yeah, and yesterday we were reading what Kapil Muni is saying is a single object is appreciated differently by different senses due to its having different qualities. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is one. Yeah, it says here, Eko Nane Yate. Yeah, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is one. Adi, Anadi. Yeah, Purushottam Bhajami, like Govinda Bhajami, Govindam Bhajami. If you remember Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma is saying that. Yeah, like he is only one. He is Adi, means he is original. Anadi means there is no one before him, right? So he is one, but according to different scriptural injunctions, he appears to be different. What it's saying is basically depending on different mindsets, different scriptures, we see him as a Brahma, Paramatma, and so on and so forth. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead is one and only one. Yeah, is what is being mentioned. And so that's what we read yesterday. And then let's continue reading this. Nice purport. When you get a chance, definitely, go through the whole purport. But we'll start with this next shlok. Yeah, 34 to 36. Shiksha Prabhu.
क्रियाया कर्तुर्भिर्दानस्तपः स्वाध्यायमर्शनैः आत्मेन्द्रियजयेनपि सन्न्यासेन च कर्मणां योगेन विविधाङ्गेन भक्तियोगेन चैव हि धर्मे धर्मेणोऽभ्यचिह्नेया प्रवृत्ति निवृत्ति माम् आत्मतत्त्वबोधेन वैराग्येन दृढेन च यते भगवानेभिः सगुणो निर्गुण सदृकः. Translation: by performing curative activities and sacrifices, by distributing charity, by performing austerity, by studying various literatures, by conducting philosophical research, by controlling the mind, by subduing the senses, by accepting the renounced order of life, by performing the prescribed duty of one's social order, by performing the different divisions of yoga practice, by performing devotional service, by exhibiting the process of devotional service containing the symptom of both attachment and detachment, by understanding the science of self-realization, and by developing a strong sense of detachment. One who is expert in understanding the different process of self-realization realizes the Supreme Personality of Godhead as he is represented in the material world as well as in transcendence. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So based on the previous shlok, we saw, right? Same one Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah. But there are so many processes given here in order to get to the self-realization and ultimately realizing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And why we can realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, in this material world is because he is represented in the material world as well as in transcendence. Yeah. So both in the spiritual world and material world. That's why by performing all these different activities, by distributing charity, since it's talking about distributing charity, I wanted to request one thing. We had Akshaya Tritiya before a couple of days, and we are using this vedabase.com to read this Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah, and all the scriptures we read, Srimad Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So if you go to vedabase.com, VDABASE, yeah, vedabase.com, there's a donation thing. So I think because you are using this platform, I think we can donate some to vedabase.com. So just a request, whatever amount. But what it is saying is, by distributing charity, by performing austerities, yeah, like fasting, tap, so many things, studying literatures, like we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, yeah, and so on and so forth, renounced order of life, lot of sannyasis, vairagya, and it's all mentioned in those shloks, yeah, Kiriyaya, Swadhyaya, yeah, Atma Indriya, Sannyas, Karmanan, yeah, Yog, Vividhanganne Bhakti Yogena, yeah, Dharma. So many things depending on Pravritti, Nivritti, Man. And it's saying, so by doing all this, yeah, Vairagya, Iyate Bhagwan Ebi hai, Saguno Nirguna hai Swadrika, because Bhagwan, here Sagun is being mentioned on the material world, because material world has 3 gunas. Yeah, if you know, right? Satogun, Rajogun, and Tamogun, that's the material world, and Nirgun is beyond this materialistic world where those gunas are not applying, as beyond those 3 gunas. So Bhagwan is everywhere, Saguno and Nirguna, both the places. So it's saying that understanding the different process of self-realization ultimately realizes the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah. So that's what is being mentioned. This is beautiful purport actually. So we are going to read this purport. So let's read this, Rinaji.
As it is stated in the previous verse, one has to follow the principles of the scriptures. There are different prescribed duties for persons in the different social and spiritual orders. Here it is stated that performance of fruitive activities and sacrifices and distribution of charity are activities meant for persons who are in the householder order of society. There are 4 orders of the social system: Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanprastha, and Sannyas. For the Grihasthas or householders, performance of sacrifices, distribution of charity, and action according to prescribed duties are especially recommended. Similarly, austerity, study of Vedic literature, and philosophical research are meant for the Vanprasthas. Or by the spiritual master is meant for the brahmacharya or student. Atmendriya Jaya, control of the mind and taming of the senses, is meant for persons in the renounced order of life. All these different activities are prescribed for different persons so that they may be elevated to the platform of self-realization and from there to Krishna consciousness, devotional service. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, thank you, Rinaji. So as we can see, most of us are grihasts, right? For the grihasts or householders, performance of sacrifices. Yeah, sacrifice includes a lot of things, including fasting and so many things. Distribution of charity and action according to prescribed duties are especially recommended. Yeah, but ultimate goal is what? Yeah, all these different activities are prescribed for different persons based on their different standings, right? So that they may be elevated to the platform of self-realization. And then there to Krishna consciousness, the devotional service. That's the ultimate goal, the devotional service. Yeah, Bhakti Yogana Chevahi. So, and let's continue reading this. Jyoti.
One has to approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna as it is stated in Bhagavad Gita. After many, many births, one approaches the Supreme Person Krishna and surrenders unto him, knowing that he is everything. Also in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam. For anyone who is undergoing rigid austerity or for anyone performing different kinds of sacrifices, the beneficiary is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the proprietor of all planets and he is a friend of every living soul. Hare Krishna.
Krishna, thank you, Jyoti. And so many things mentioned in this small paragraph, right? So if you really see, yeah, he is the proprietor of all planets, right? As we know, all the material world as well as the whole of spiritual world. But most importantly, he is the friend of every living soul. Yeah, every living soul can establish.
But first you'll have to unlock your device.
Every living soul can establish relationship with Lord Krishna. Yeah, and even the more important thing mentioned in Bhagavad Gita itself is that after many, many births, one approaches the Supreme Person Krishna and surrenders unto him, knowing that he is everything. Yeah, and we already know, like we go through this 8.4 million species and who knows how many births and what else. The consciousness of a human being, yeah, it comes after many, many births. And then also after many births, one approaches the Supreme Person Krishna, because only when he realizes, like if we don't even realize that Krishna is the supreme and everything, how are we going to surrender unto him, right? So, I mean, it's so lucky that, we have Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and is giving all this knowledge and understanding of Lord Shri Krishna, right? And Lord Krishna himself is speaking on this, right? That after many, many births, one approaches the Krishna and surrenders unto him, knowing that he is everything. Yeah? It says, Bhoktaram Yagna Tapashyam. So, anyone who is undergoing rigid austerity, for anyone performing different kinds of sacrifices, the beneficiary is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because everything is ultimately Lord Shri Krishna. Yeah. So very nicely mentioned in a small paragraph. Let's just continue reading this verse. Sachin.
Words dharmeno bhaya chinhena. mean that the Bhakti Yoga process contains two symptoms, namely attachment for the Supreme Lord and the detachment from all material affinities. There are two symptoms of advancement in the process of devotional service, just as there are two processes taking place while eating. A hungry man feels strength and satisfaction from eating, and at the same time, he gradually becomes detached from eating anymore. Similarly, with the execution of devotional service, real knowledge develops and one becomes detached from material activities. In no other activity but devotional service is there such detachment from matter and attachment for the Supreme. There are 9 different processes to increase this attachment to the Supreme Lord: hearing, chanting, remembering, worshipping, serving the Lord, making friendship, praying, offering everything, and serving the lotus feet of the Lord. The process for increasing detachment from material affinities are explained in verse 36. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, yeah. So again, very interesting thing mentioned, right? As we increase attachment to the spiritual service, one becomes detached from material activities by default. Like we don't have to work on detachment from material activities. If we work on attaching ourselves to execution of devotional service, right? Like chanting, in the beginning we do chanting. And the good thing is, when we are chanting here, we are chanting along with the voice of Srila Prabhupada himself, right? I think you all know that when we play this recording of chanting and then we chant along with that voice is of Srila Prabhupada. Yeah. He is the founder of this ISKCON movement who has given us this Krishna consciousness all over the world. So we are so lucky to chant along with him. And then, reading this Srimad Bhagavatam. So as we keep doing more and more self-realization, and we don't have to detach ourselves, we are still in the Grihastha ashram, we keep doing everything we need to, right? But our attachment to the Supreme Lord can be increased, and those 9 ways of devotional service, which we have been talking about every time, right? Hearing, chanting, Ishmaranam, Kirtanam, remembering, worshipping, serving the Lord, making friendship, praying, offering everything, and serving the lotus feet of the Lord. Those are the 9 activities, processes, which have been suggested in our scriptures, right, to attachment of the Supreme Lord. They are a part of the devotional service. Yeah. Ajay?
One can achieve elevation to the higher planetary systems like the heavenly kingdom by executing one's prescribed duties and by performing sacrifices. When one is transcendental to such desires because of accepting the renounced order of the life, he can understand the Brahman feature of the Supreme. And when one is able to see his real constitutional position, he sees all other processes and becomes situated in the stage of pure devotional service. At this time, he can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, yeah. Easily said than done, yeah. How do we understand Bhagwan? Yeah. How do we elevate ourselves to the heavenly kingdom? By executing one's prescribed duties, performing sacrifices, right? One is transcendental to such desires. Then he can understand the Brahma feature of the Supreme. Yeah. Then see his real constitutional position, right? And then you get to the pure devotional service, right? But it's recommended that in this Kali Yuga, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has recommended chanting itself will bring it to the and elevate us to the pure devotional service. Yeah. And then at that time, we can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead Bhagwan, right? As we read in previous shlokas, it says that by doing this chanting and bhakti yoga and purifying the soul, the self-realization and the knowledge will come by itself, right? So very clearly mentioned that. Anilji? Anilji? अनिल जी आप पढ़ेंगे?
जी हाँ. Understanding of the Supreme Person is called Atma Tattva Avabodhena, which means understanding of one's real constitutional position. If one actually understands one's constitutional position as an eternal servitor of the Supreme Lord, he becomes detached from the service of the material world. Everyone engages in some sort of service. If one does not know one's constitutional position, one engages in the service of his personal gross body or his family, society, or country. But as soon as one is able to see his constitutional position, the word Swadrak means one who is able to see. He becomes detached from such material service and engages himself in devotional service. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So once we know our constitutional position is not this body, not the Suksham Sharira, beyond this the soul, then we understand that devotional service is the most important one. Yeah. And Jyoti?
As long as one is in the modes of material nature and is performing the duties prescribed in the scriptures, he can be elevated to higher planetary systems where the predominating deities are material representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, like the Sun God, the Moon God, the Air God, Brahma, and Lord Shiva. All the different demigods are material representatives of Supreme Lord. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. Rinaji?
By material activities, one can approach only such demigods, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 9.25. Yanti Deva Vrata Devan. Those who are attached to the demigods and who perform the prescribed duties can approach the abodes of demigods. In this way, one can go to the planet of the Pitas, or forefathers. Similarly, one who fully understands the real position of his life adopts devotional service and realizes the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. The important part is that one can realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? There's a hope that if one adopts to devotional service, we can realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. Yeah, we can feel the spiritual blessings and then maybe go back to Godhead, right? There's always a chance. And it's mentioned that, even if it doesn't happen in this birth, but if you are engaged in the devotional service, it so happens that we continue that in the next birth. And then at some point we realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. Yeah. So actually we are going to pause here today. And we did only one shlok today. I mean, that's, I think, the least, like, I think in 2 years, we have done one shlok only today, first time. Otherwise, generally we cover like 5 to 10. But it was very important purport, which we had to read. So that's good. And it's Thursday, so we'll have a long weekend. And we'll see you back on Monday at 10 p.m. again. Yeah, EST. We have 2 minutes. Prabhuji, you want to say anything? Half a second? Siksham Prabhuji? Or?
कीर्तन ही लगाइए.
ठीक है, 2 मिनट है, कीर्तन सुनते हैं. And then enjoy your weekend. Yeah, see you on Monday. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
और प्रभु जी गाय माता की सेवा कर रहे हैं. So we are starting with cow darshan. Prashiksham Prabhuji is doing a lot of gau seva. To say, yeah.
गिरिवर हारे मोर मुकुटा मुख मुरले जोरे मोर मुकुटा मुख मुरले जोरे वेणे विराजे मुखे हसे थोरे थोरे वेणे विराजे मुखे हसे थोरे थोरे जय राधा गिरिवर धारे उनके सो है गलवाना माला उनके सो है गलवाना माला इनके मोते माला राधा गिरिधारी